This is of course the all new Trek EXe. It's an amazing bike that I've been lucky enough to spend the last couple of months test riding even before it was official release. And there's 7 things I absolutely love about this bike. And unfortunately, one thing that I don't, and it's making me really sad. But before we get into this video, if you'd like to see more of our content, or if you like this style of videos, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to give this video a like. If there's anything you'd like to know about the Trek or any of the other bikes we've featured on our channel, drop a comment below and we'll get back to you straight away. So before I crack into my first point about what I love about this bike, let me just quickly say, none of what I talk about is going to be the spec of this bike. It's all going to be about the actual function of the frame. Now, the reason I'm not getting bogged down in the spec of this bike, this is the XX1 build. It's not actually going to be offered here in Australia. If it was, it's going to be around 20 grand. The entry-level Trek EXe is actually $9,500 with the same frame, same carbon frame, same battery, same motor, everything. So for $9.5 grand, that's exceptionally good value for this new category of lightweight performance e-bike. So yeah, rather than talk about the spec, let's talk about the bigger features that I think you'll find really interesting. All right, so the top of my list would have to be this amazing motor. This is the heart and soul of the bike, and it's what really sets the new Trek apart. It's made by a German company called TQ Industries. It's easily the most compact motor we've ever seen come on an e-bike. It's also extremely quiet when it's on and powering along. There's just a subtle high-pitched roar that you can almost not even hear. It's by far the most quiet e-bike we've ever ridden. But the thing I really love about it is that there's nearly no friction whatsoever. When you're cranking through, if you have the bike turned off altogether, or if you get past that 25 kilometer assistance, there's absolutely no sluggishness or lack of power there. It's just buttery smooth and it feels like you're on a regular bike. Absolutely love what TQ have done here with this bike, and I'd love to see TQ on more models, maybe even more Treks in future. For me, it's an absolute standalone top of the pile performer. All right, number 2 on my list is of course the numbers of this bike and its geo package. I think Trek have absolutely knocked it out of the park. Now there's no denying this is a trail bike. It's got 150mm of travel, 140 in the rear, 2.9er exclusive, and it's also got some really nice geometry numbers, 65-degree head angle. It's got a nice short chain stays there, which makes the bike nice and playful, and I absolutely love the standover of this bike. There's loads and loads of room here to move the bike around and makes it really playful when you're on the trail wanting to chop change and change direction on a dime, pick the bike up and move it around. So I really think Trek have done a great job with the overall geometry package of the new Trek EXe. Number 3 would have to be the battery on this bike. It's a 360 watt-hour battery, and it drops out with a single bolt, which is super handy if you want to travel with your bike or if you want to take the battery out to charge it, etc. Really, really user friendly. It literally just drops right at the bottom here without having to remove the motor or anything like that. Now 360 watt hour I found to be the perfect amount of juice to get through a strong 2-hour ride and still have plenty in the tank to get home. But one thing to keep in mind, Trek does offer this bike with a battery range extender. Essentially it looks like a water bottle and it clips into the water bottle, plugs in here, and that gives you an extra 140 watt hours. So that'll give you a grand total of 500 watt hours if you really want to go for a bit more of an all-day adventure, or maybe like a half-day adventure. Just gives you a bit of peace of mind. You can keep that battery extender in your backpack if need be. But personally, I didn't find I needed it. Most of my rides are right around that sort of 2-hour mark, like I mentioned, and I found this to be more than enough juice, even in sort of the top power mode for most of that ride. All right, number 4 on my list is definitely the display that's integrated seamlessly into the top of the bike. I think TQ have done an amazing job. It's extremely minimal and compact, and when you look down at it at a glance, it gives you only the information you need: your battery, the speed you're going, just a few little settings like that without being cluttered with too much information. You can really just peer down at a glance and then get your eyes back up and focus on the rest of the trail. And it's got this tiny little mode selector dial there as well, which makes the whole cockpit really, really minimal. It just doesn't even look like an e-bike. Yeah, I think they've done an absolutely amazing job of integrating that little display seamlessly into the top tube. All right, 5th thing on my list would have to be the weight. This bike's right around 18 kilos, so it's super light for an e-bike. Makes it really easy to throw it around the trails. And also the power to weight ratio being so light actually means you get more juice out of that 360 watt hour battery. So it's gonna last a little bit longer because there's just less heft. And I think the overall light weight of the bike means it's a lot easier to brake for a section. The power coming out of a corner is much easier to power on because there's, again, just less overall heft that it's trying to get around. And the other thing I love about the bike is it's so easy to sort of jump and bunny hop. I can't really say I've ever bunny hopped an e-bike before, but this bike, it just pops effortlessly, really. And so yeah, I think Trek have done a fantastic job of keeping the overall weight of this bike super, super low. Number 6 would have to be this bike's appearance. It is absolutely gorgeous and it doesn't look like an e-bike. The silhouette of the bike at a glance, you'd be struggling to pick that this thing is a motor. It absolutely vanishes into the overall appearance of the bike. It's extremely minimal, all of the e-bike features. But of course, you do have that assistance, you do have that power, you do have the ability to go and attack more trails and discover more trails than ever been, because you do have that level of assistance. And I think as an overall package, when a lot of e-bikes still have that really bulky down tube and those sort of telltale e-bike characteristics, or maybe that big kind of nappy down here at the bottom bracket that we see on pretty much all e-bikes, I think Trek and TQ Industries have done an absolutely phenomenal job with the appearance of this bike. As they say, when a plate of food comes out to you before you start eating, your eyes take the first bite. And I think when your eyes take the first look at this bike, it's absolutely delicious. All right, my 7th thing I absolutely love about this bike is actually the category that Trek have slotted into. It's this emerging category of super lightweight mid-powered e-bikes, and I think Trek have absolutely nailed it on the head here with their first offering into that category. So for me, this style of e-bike, be it nice and light with kind of a mid amount of power, that's everything I want when I get out on trail, because I still want to have a good workout. I've still got a decent amount of fitness that I can put into the bike, but I've got heaps of assistance for those really pinchy uphills. I could definitely get in probably twice as much trail in the same amount of time as I could on a regular bike, but I'm not gassed out, and it makes me much more sort of keen to jump on the bike, especially on those midweeks where I might otherwise think, not bother. A little lightweight e-bike like this is just perfect, and I don't really kind of think I need all of the power of a big bike, and I certainly don't need all of the battery, because most of my rides, I've got kids at home, I get out for an hour or two, and that's pretty much done. I don't really want to go riding for 8 hours. I don't have that luxury. And so a bike like this is absolutely perfect for sort of 99% of the rides. And if I'm going to go invest in my money, I want to get a bike like this. All right, so there's a lot I like about this bike, but you're probably wondering what's the thing that I don't like. And there's something that really disappoints me about the Trek. We've had this bike for 2 months now. I've absolutely fallen in love with it, but unfortunately our test period is over, and tomorrow I have to box this bike back up and send it back to Trek. And it kind of breaks my heart, to be honest with you. I just don't know that my rides will be the same without it.